I flew back to New Jersey because my mom begged me to come home for what she called a major family announcement. The moment I walked through that door and saw everyone gathered in the living room, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. No hug. No hello. Just my mom glancing at me like I'd tracked mud across her clean floors. "You're late, Cassie," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "Tori's been waiting." My older sister sat on the couch like royalty holding court, scrolling through her phone with that familiar half-smile. The same smile she'd worn our entire lives while I scrambled for scraps of attention. I smelled like airplane recycled air, my back was killing me from the cramped seat, and I'd spent money I didn't have on a last-minute ticket. Meanwhile, Tori looked fresh from a spa day, her engagement ring catching the light every time she moved her hand. My mom cleared her throat. "Before we start, Cassie, did you remember to transfer that money I asked about?" I blinked. "What money?" "The $500 I texted you about last week. For the family dinner fund." I'd been eating rice and canned beans for 2 weeks straight. "Mom, I told you I couldn't." "Of course." She waved her hand dismissively. "Tori already covered it." "She always does." Something inside me clicked off like a light switch. This had been my entire life. Tori the brilliant. Tori the accomplished. Tori with her full-ride scholarship offer still stuck to the fridge with a magnet, 6 years later. My mom brought up that acceptance letter at every holiday, every birthday, every random Tuesday when she needed to remind me where I ranked. When my college rejection emails came flooding in years ago, she'd actually laughed. Not a sympathetic chuckle, a real laugh. "You're not built like your sister," she'd said loud enough for Tori to hear from upstairs. "You'll never be as good." That sentence lived in my chest like a stone. So I left. Took 2 suitcases to New York City and a job that barely kept me fed. Nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody cared that I worked doubles at a diner just to make rent in a shared apartment in Queens. But 3 weeks ago, an envelope arrived at my door. No return address. No note. Just a bank statement from a Connecticut credit union. The name on the account stopped my heart. Mine. Only I'd never opened that account. I didn't yell that night at my mom's house. I didn't cause a scene. I just smiled and said one sentence that made everyone go quiet. And by the time I left that room, their perfect announcement was ruined, their finances were about to collapse, and I was finally done being invisible. Stay until the end and I'll show you exactly what happens when the forgotten daughter stops playing her assigned role and starts collecting receipts. Let me back up and tell you how I got to that moment. After I left New Jersey, I disappeared into New York City like a ghost. My mom told relatives I was figuring things out, her polite way of saying I was failing. I lived in a 4th-floor walk-up in Queens with 2 roommates who barely spoke English. My room was the size of a closet. Literally. It had been a closet before the landlord slapped up some drywall and called it a bedroom. I worked morning shifts at a diner off Roosevelt Avenue, slinging eggs and coffee to construction workers. Evenings, I did data entry for a medical billing company. Weekends, I picked up catering gigs. Nobody back home knew about the accounting courses I was taking online. Nobody knew I was studying for certifications every night after my shifts ended. Nobody knew I was saving every single dollar I could. Because back in New Jersey, Tori's life was the only one that mattered. My mom's social media was a shrine to my sister. Engagement photos at sunset. Her new condo with granite countertops. Weekend trips to Los Angeles and San Diego. My mom commented on every single post like she was Tori's personal publicist. So proud of my successful daughter. This is what hard work looks like. Some people are just born exceptional. When distant relatives asked about me at family gatherings, my mom would shrug and say I was still finding my path. Like I was some lost hiker wandering in circles. Meanwhile, Tori posted about her promotion, her vacation to wine country, her designer handbag collection. She never worked weekends. Never worked doubles. Never came home smelling like fryer grease and regret. The math didn't make sense. Tori's job was good, sure. But not buy a condo at 25 good. Not take 3 vacations a year good. I pushed the thought away. Maybe she was better with money. Maybe her fiancé helped. Maybe I was just jealous. Then that envelope arrived. I stood in my cramped kitchen, staring at the bank statement with my name printed across the top. Account opened 4 years ago. Regular deposits. Regular withdrawals. Transaction after transaction I'd never made. My hand started shaking. I logged into my credit report that night, something I should have done years ago but was too scared to face. What I found made me physically sick. A student loan. $38,000. Taken out in my name 3 years ago. I'd never seen a penny of it. I scrolled through transaction histories, archived emails I didn't remember receiving, financial aid applications I'd never submitted. Every click revealed another piece of a nightmare I didn't know I was living. Someone had been using my identity. My social security number. My personal information. And the money trail led to one place. Back home. The next morning, I called the Connecticut Credit Union. They confirmed the account was opened with my information, my signature, or what looked like my signature. Who authorized the withdrawals? I asked. The representative hesitated. According to our records, you did. Along with a co-signer. A Patricia Bennett. My mother. I called out sick from work. Spent 3 days locked in my closet bedroom pulling every financial record I could find. The scholarship I'd applied for during senior year, the one I thought I didn't get. I found the approval letter buried in an old email account I'd stopped checking. Approved. $7,000. Sent to an account I couldn't access. Another scholarship from a local business association. $5,000. Same story. A grant from a Women in STEM program. $4,000. Redirected before I ever knew it existed. Every opportunity I'd worked for had been stolen before I could even celebrate. But the student loan was worse. $38,000, disbursed to cover educational expenses. The payments went directly to an account linked to my mom's name. I pulled the loan documents, downloaded them from the servicer's website using my information. There was my signature. Or something that looked close enough. But I'd never signed anything. I zoomed in on the electronic signature line. The date showed I'd supposedly signed these documents on a Tuesday afternoon. I checked my old work schedule from that year. I'd been working a double shift that day. Time stamped in at 6 a.m., didn't leave until 9 p.m. I couldn't have been in 2 places at once. My mom had forged my signature. I pulled more records. Credit cards opened in my name. Store cards from department stores I'd never shopped at. Small balances, always paid on time so I'd never get alerts. But the charges told a story. High-end furniture stores. Electronics retailers. Kitchen appliance companies. I cross-referenced the dates with Tori's social media posts. New couch? Charged to a card in my name. New laptop? Same card. Kitchen mixer for her condo? My credit. They'd built Tori's perfect life on my stolen identity. The total kept climbing as I dug deeper. $50,000. $75,000. Over $100,000 in fraudulent loans, redirected scholarships, and credit card debt I didn't know existed. But the worst part, the part that made me want to scream, was finding the email. Buried in an archived folder I didn't remember creating, I found correspondence between my mom and a financial aid office. The email was sent from my address. But I'd never written it. Cassie has decided to defer her acceptance and redirect her scholarship to her sister Victoria, who will make better use of the opportunity. My mom had my email password. She'd been responding to financial institutions, colleges, and banks as me for years. I found the voicemail by accident. Going through my mom's public social media, I found a video she'd posted then quickly deleted. She'd meant to share a clip of Tori but had accidentally included audio from right before. Her voice, clear as day: "Cassie will never figure it out. She never checks anything. The girl can't even balance a checkbook. This is the smart move. Tori deserves this." Someone in the background laughed. I downloaded the video before it disappeared completely. Then I made a phone call to a lawyer who specialized in identity theft. "How bad do you want to pursue this?" she asked after I explained everything. I stared at the spreadsheet I'd created. Every theft. Every lie. Every dollar stolen. "All the way," I said. The lawyer's name was Ruth Chin. She didn't sugarcoat anything. "This is systematic fraud," she said during our first meeting at her office in Manhattan. "Identity theft. Forgery. Possibly wire fraud if money crossed state lines. Your mother could face serious criminal charges." "Good," I said. Ruth raised an eyebrow. "Most people hesitate when they hear that." "She's your mother. She stole my entire future." Ruth nodded slowly. "Then let's build the case." We spent 6 weeks gathering everything. Ruth subpoenaed records I couldn't access on my own. Bank statements going back 7 years. Loan applications with forged signatures. Credit card agreements I'd never seen. Every document told the same story: my mom had total access to my personal information and had weaponized it. She'd kept my birth certificate, social security card, and passport for safekeeping when I left for New York. I'd been so desperate to leave that I hadn't fought her on it. I thought she was being helpful. Instead, she'd used those documents to open accounts, apply for loans, and redirect money meant for me. Ruth pulled my FAFSA records, the federal financial aid applications for college. I'd filled one out senior year. But there were 3 more applications filed in my name over the following years. Applications I'd never submitted. Each one listed my mom as the contact person. Each one resulted in aid packages that vanished before I knew they existed. "Your mother was extremely careful," Ruth said, spreading documents across her conference table. "She never took so much at once that it would trigger automatic fraud alerts. She kept balances paid on the credit cards so you wouldn't get collection calls. She used your email to confirm transactions so paper trails wouldn't reach your physical address." "How did she know she could get away with it?" Ruth looked at me with something like pity. "Because she knew you. She knew you were working multiple jobs, barely surviving. She knew you wouldn't have time or energy to monitor credit reports. She knew you trusted family. That hurt more than the theft itself." I found the voicemail Ruth had cleaned up and enhanced. My mom's voice was even clearer now. "Cassie's never going to amount to anything anyway. Why waste opportunities on someone who barely graduated? Tori has real potential. This is just reallocating resources to where they'll actually matter. And honestly, Cassie's too disorganized to ever figure it out. The girl still can't hold down a real job." In the background, someone, it sounded like my aunt, said, "What if she finds out?" My mom laughed. "She won't. And even if she did, what's she going to do? She can barely afford her rent. She's not hiring a lawyer." "Wrong." Ruth looked up from her notes. "I found something else. Did you know your sister was listed as beneficiary on several of these accounts?" My stomach dropped. "What?" "The student loan. 2 of the credit cards. She's listed as an authorized user with beneficiary status. That means if something happened to you, she'd inherit the accounts, and the remaining balances would transfer to policies that would pay them off." Tori knew. "Tori knew," Ruth confirmed. "She wasn't just a passive recipient. She was complicit." I thought about all the times Tori had posted about her accomplishments. Every promotion, every purchase, every carefully filtered photo of her perfect life. She'd looked me in the eye at family dinners while wearing jewelry bought with my stolen credit. She'd smiled while my mom mocked my failures engineered by both of them. "What's our next move?" I asked. Ruth smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. We prepare for confrontation. And we make sure you have every receipt. For 6 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. Methodical. Cold. Focused. Ruth helped me organize everything into a presentation. We created a spreadsheet with every fraudulent transaction. Date. Amount. Institution. Transaction ID number. Cross-referenced with Tori's social media posts showing what she'd bought and when. The evidence was devastating. Redirected scholarships, $23,000. Student loan in my name, $38,000. Credit card debt accumulated over 4 years, $41,000. Forged financial aid applications, estimated value of $60,000 in lost opportunities. Total damage, over $160,000. But Ruth pushed me to dig deeper. Financial theft is one thing. Emotional manipulation is another. Do you have proof of the psychological abuse? I pulled the voicemail. The deleted video. Screenshots of my mom's social media posts praising Tori while ignoring my existence. Text messages where my mom asked me for money while posting photos of Tori's luxury purchases. Emails where she'd canceled plans with me last minute but never missed Tori's events. This establishes pattern of behavior, Ruth said. It shows intent. She didn't just steal from you opportunistically. She systematically exploited you while actively sabotaging your self-worth. We found more. My mom had used my credit to co-sign Tori's condo. If Tori defaulted, I'd be liable. She'd opened a store card in my name at a furniture outlet, maxed it out furnishing Tori's place, then made minimum payments to keep it off my radar. She'd even applied for a car loan in my name. It was denied. My credit score wasn't good enough after all her damage, but she'd tried. What about your sister? Ruth asked. Can you prove she knew? I showed her the beneficiary documents. Tori's electronic signature on authorization forms. Emails between Tori and my mom discussing Cassie's contribution to various purchases. One email made my blood run cold. Tori to Mom, are you sure Cassie won't find out? Mom to Tori, even if she does, what can she do? She has no resources. No support system. By the time she figures it out, statute of limitations will protect us. And honestly, she's so beaten down she probably won't even try. They'd calculated the risk. They'd decided I was too broken to fight back. While organizing documents, I found something else. A reference in one of my grandmother's old letters to my mom, a letter my mom had forwarded to herself from my email account, not realizing it would stay in my archived folders. Grandma mentioned a safety deposit box in Minnesota. A trust she'd established. Instructions that no one but me should access it. You need to pursue that, Ruth said. But first, let's handle your mother and sister. She helped me create the presentation. A slideshow that would display on any TV or projector. Every receipt. Every forged signature. Every stolen dollar. The voicemail audio embedded in the file. Photos of Tori's purchases next to credit card statements in my name. A final slide showing the total and the federal penalties for identity theft. When do you want to do this? Ruth asked. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Family gathering this Sunday. Tori has big news. You should come. Try to dress appropriately for once. I showed Ruth the message. She smiled. Perfect timing. I flew back to New Jersey on Sunday morning with my laptop and a flash drive containing everything. My mom had invited the entire extended family. Aunts from Virginia. Uncles from Maryland. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. She'd gone all out, catered food, decorated dining room, the works. She'd done this before for Tori's engagement announcement. Never for anything related to me. I arrived exactly on time. My mom answered the door with her phone in hand, barely glancing at me. You're here. Good. Don't take up too much space, We have a lot of people coming. No hug. No greeting. Just instructions on where to stay out of the way. Tori was already holding court in the living room, showing off photos on her phone. Her fiancé sat beside her looking proud. She wore a new outfit, probably charged to one of my cards. When she saw me, she didn't even pretend to be happy. Cassie. Wow. You actually came. Wouldn't miss it, I said. My aunt pulled me into a hug. Honey, you look exhausted. Are you eating enough? I'm fine. Your mother said you're still in that tiny apartment. When are you going to get a real job? I smiled. Actually, I've been working on something. A project. It's almost done. Family members kept arriving. My mom fluttered around like a party planner, making sure everyone had drinks and appetizers. She kept checking her watch, waiting for the right moment. Finally, she called everyone into the dining room. 23 people crowded around the table and spilled into the adjoining living room. My mom stood at the head of the table, beaming. Tori stood beside her, phone in hand, ready to document everything. Thank you all for coming, my mom started. We have incredible news to share. Tori has been accepted into an executive leadership program in California. It's extremely competitive, only 15 people nationwide were chosen. We're so incredibly proud. Actually, I said, standing up. This is about me. The room went silent. My mom's smile froze. Cassie, this isn't the time. No, I think it's the perfect time. I pulled out my laptop. Do you mind if I use the TV? What are you doing? Tori's voice had an edge to it. Sharing some news of my own. I connected my laptop to their flat screen. See, I've been working on a project too. I think everyone should see it. My mom's face went pale. Cassie, whatever this is. The first slide appeared on the screen. A title in simple text, Financial History, The Truth About the Bennett Family. My cousin leaned forward. What is this? Let me show you. I advanced to the next slide. A bank statement filled the screen. My name at the top. Transactions highlighted in yellow. This is an account opened in my name 4 years ago. I never opened it. But someone did. Someone who had access to my personal information. I looked at my mom. Her mouth was slightly open. Next slide. The student loan documents. $38,000. Taken out in my name. I never saw the money. But I know where it went. I clicked again. Tori's social media post about her condo down payment appeared next to the loan disbursement record. Same date. My aunt gasped. Cassie, my mom started. I'm not done. My voice was steady. Calm. Let's look at the scholarships. Click. Approval letters for scholarships I'd earned. Next to them, bank records showing the money deposited into accounts I couldn't access. $23,000 in scholarships. Redirected before I knew they existed. Click. Credit card statements. $41,000 in charges. Furniture. Electronics. Kitchen appliances. Click. Tori's social media post showing off each item on the exact dates of purchase. The room was absolutely silent except for the sound of my keyboard. My uncle stood up. Linda, what is this? My mom tried to smile. This is a misunderstanding. Cassie is confused. I'm not confused. Click. I have the emails. The ones you sent from my email account, pretending to be me. The messages filled the screen. My mom corresponding with financial institutions as me. My cousin covered her mouth. Oh my God. Tori finally spoke. This is ridiculous. Cassie's always been dramatic. Am I being dramatic about this? I played the voicemail. My mom's voice filled the room through the TV speakers. Cassie's never going to amount to anything anyway. Tori has real potential. Cassie's too disorganized to ever figure it out. The laugh that followed echoed in the silence. Someone whispered my mom's name like an accusation. I looked at her. She wouldn't meet my eyes. $162,000, I said quietly. That's the total. That's what you stole from me while telling everyone I was the failure. My mom found her voice first. She always did. You're taking this out of context. She looked around the room, appealing to the family. Cassie didn't need that money. She was barely keeping it together. Tori had opportunities, real opportunities. Someone had to make the practical choice. The practical choice? I advanced to the next slide. Let's talk about practical choices. Forged signatures appeared on screen. My signature, or something close to it, on loan documents, account authorizations, beneficiary forms. These are forgeries. I've had them analyzed. The handwriting doesn't match mine. The electronic signatures were created using information only one person had access to. I looked at my mom. You kept my birth certificate. My social security card. My passport. You said it was for safekeeping. My aunt's voice cracked. Linda, you didn't. I did what I had to do for this family. My mom's composure was cracking. Cassie was wasting her potential. She wasn't going anywhere. Tori could actually make something of herself. With my money. I clicked to the next slide. Let's break it down. The spreadsheet appeared. Every transaction. Every theft. Color-coded by category. Red for forged loans. Blue for redirected scholarships. Green for fraudulent credit cards. Yellow for identity theft. The room leaned in, reading. My cousin started tallying out loud. Wait, that furniture store charge, Tori, isn't that your couch? Tori's face went red. I didn't know. You didn't know? I pulled up the beneficiary documents. You're listed here. As an authorized user. As a beneficiary. You electronically signed these forms. I thought Mom was helping. You thought Mom was helping by stealing from me? My voice was still calm. That somehow made it worse. Let me show you something else. I pulled up the email chain between Tori and my mom. The room read in silence. Are you sure Cassie won't find out? Even if she does, what can she do? My uncle stood up. Tori, did you know where that money was coming from? Tori opened her mouth. Closed it. Then said the worst thing possible. She smirked. Just for a second. A tiny twist of her lips like this was all ridiculous. Like I was making a fuss over nothing. That smirk told everyone everything. My aunt turned to Tori. You knew. You knew the whole time. Tori's voice faltered. Mom said it was fine. She said Cassie had agreed to help. When did I agree? I asked quietly. Show me where I agreed. Silence. You can't. Because I didn't. Because you stole from me while I worked 3 jobs just to eat. I clicked to the next slide. Photos of me from those years, pulled from social media. Exhausted. Thin. Dark circles under my eyes. Working the diner. Walking home at night. Next to them, photos of Tori at brunch. Tori on vacation. Tori showing off her condo. Tori's engagement photos. The contrast was brutal. While I was eating rice and canned beans, I said, you were posting pictures of bottomless mimosas. While I was working doubles, you were in California. While I couldn't afford new shoes, you were buying designer bags. Cassie, my mom tried again. With my credit, I finished. With my identity. With opportunities you stole before I even knew they existed. I pulled up the total slide. $162,437. Itemized. Documented. Undeniable. The number sat on the screen in stark black text. My youngest cousin whispered, That's more than my house cost. That's more than a house, I said. That's a future. That's the education I couldn't afford. The apartment I couldn't rent. The life I couldn't build because two people I trusted decided I wasn't worth investing in. My mom's face had gone from pale to red. How dare you humiliate us like this in front of the family? Humiliate you? I laughed. It sounded hollow. You humiliated me my entire life. You told me I'd never be as good as Tori. You laughed when my college rejections came. You told relatives I was figuring things out while you knew exactly why I was struggling. I played the voicemail again. Just the worst part. She's never going to amount to anything anyway. My mom's own voice condemning her. My aunt was crying now. My uncle had his hand over his mouth. Cousins were exchanging horrified looks. Tori tried one more time. Look, maybe there was a misunderstanding about the accounts, but Mom was just trying to help the family. Help? I pulled up one final document. Let me show you what help looks like. Credit report. My credit report. The one I'd pulled 6 weeks ago. Credit score, 510. That's my credit score after you two helped the family. I can't get approved for an apartment lease. Can't get a car loan. Can't even get approved for a basic credit card in my own name. I turned to Tori. What's your credit score? She didn't answer. Let me guess. Over 750? Excellent credit? Because you've been paying your bills on time with money stolen from me? The room was absolutely silent except for someone crying quietly in the corner. I closed my laptop. I reported this to the authorities, I said calmly. Identity theft is a federal crime. Fraud involving amounts over $10,000 carries serious penalties. I've filed a police report. I've retained a lawyer. And I have copies of everything you just saw. My mom's face went white. You called the police? I did what I had to do. For myself. Since no one else would. I picked up my bag. Wait, my mom reached for me. I stepped back. Don't. Cassie, we can fix this. We can talk about this as a family. We're not a family, I said quietly. Families don't steal from each other. Families don't destroy each other. You made your choice years ago when you decided Tori deserved a future and I didn't. I headed for the door. Behind me, chaos erupted. Family members shouting questions. My mom crying. Tori trying to defend herself. I didn't look back. But before I left, I turned and said one more thing. By the way, there's one more receipt I didn't show you today. Something I found in Minnesota. Something Grandma left behind. My mom's head snapped up. What? I guess we'll all find out soon enough. Then I walked out and closed the door on the Bennett family forever. I sat in my rental car outside the house for exactly 3 minutes. Long enough to watch the curtains move. Long enough to see shadows arguing inside. Long enough to hear raised voices even through closed windows. Then I drove away. My phone started ringing before I hit the highway. My mom. Then Tori. Then my mom again. I let every call go to voicemail. The first message was my mom crying. Cassie, please. We need to talk about this. You're destroying this family. Delete. The second was Tori, angry. You're being vindictive. Mom made mistakes, but you didn't have to humiliate us in front of everyone. This is cruel. Delete. The third was my mom again, but different. Threatening. If you go through with this legal nonsense, you'll regret it. Family doesn't sue family. You'll never be welcome here again. I saved that one. Ruth would want to hear it. By the time I landed back in New York, my phone had 17 missed calls and 32 text messages. Most were from my mom and Tori, alternating between begging and blaming. But 3 were from other family members. My aunt, Cassie, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, please call me. My cousin, that took guts. Proud of you. My uncle, your grandmother would be proud. Call me when you're ready. That last one made me cry in the airport bathroom. I met with Ruth the next morning. Showed her the messages, the voicemails, everything that had happened. They're panicking, she said, scrolling through my phone. That's good. Panic makes people sloppy. What happens now? Now we wait for them to make their next move. And Cassie? She looked up at me. You need to prepare yourself. They're going to try to control the narrative. She was right. 2 days later, my mom posted on social media a long, emotional message about how families face challenges. How misunderstandings can spiral out of control. How she'd always loved both her daughters equally, but sometimes tough love meant making hard choices. She didn't mention the theft. Didn't mention the evidence. Just painted herself as a struggling mother trying her best. The comments were sympathetic. Stay strong, Linda. Family is everything. Some children don't appreciate what they have. Tori posted too. A photo of her and my mom hugging, both looking tearful. Caption: when people you love turn against you, all you can do is hold on to those who matter. Family first, always. My phone buzzed with messages from distant relatives who'd seen the posts but hadn't been at the dinner. What happened between you and your mom? Why are you causing problems? Family should forgive. I didn't respond to any of them. But my aunt did. She commented on my mom's post publicly. Linda, you stole $162,000 from your daughter over 4 years. That's not tough love. That's a crime. Stop lying. Then she posted the spreadsheet I'd shown at dinner. The narrative shifted fast. Suddenly, people who'd sympathized with my mom were asking questions. Demanding answers. My mom deleted her post within an hour. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots spread through the family network. By the end of the week, half the family had stopped speaking to my mom. The other half were demanding she explain herself. Tori's California program reached out to her. They'd seen the posts. Seen the allegations. They wanted to verify her financial aid applications and scholarship history. She called me, frantic. Cassie, please. If they pull my acceptance, my career is over. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. Was it? I asked. Silence. That's what I thought. I hung up. Ruth called the next day. The police want to interview you formally. They're opening an investigation. Already? Your case has documentation most victims don't. Bank records. Emails. Recorded admissions. This is prosecutable. My hand shook. What does that mean for them? For your mother? If convicted, she's looking at federal charges. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Forgery. That's 2 to 5 years minimum. Financial restitution. Permanent criminal record. And Tori? Conspiracy. Accessory. She's not the primary actor, but she knowingly benefited from criminal activity. She'll face charges too. I should have felt satisfied. Vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. There's something else, I said. My grandmother. She mentioned a safety deposit box in Minnesota. I need to know what's in it. Ruth nodded. Then let's find out. I booked a flight for the following week. But before I left, one more thing happened. An envelope arrived at my apartment. Hand-delivered. No postage. Inside was a check from my mom. $15,000. And a note, "This is all I can give right now. Please drop the charges. We can work out the rest." 15,000. Out of 162,000. I took a photo of the check and the note. Sent them to Ruth. Then I tore up the check. Some debts can't be paid in installments. The Minnesota flight was 3 hours of me staring out the window, wondering what I'd find. My grandmother had died 2 years ago. Sudden heart attack. I'd flown home for the funeral, stayed 2 days, then left before the reception ended because my mom kept introducing me as the one who's still finding herself. Grandma had always been different with me. Quieter. More watchful. At her funeral, she'd pulled me aside a week before she died, our last conversation. "Cassie, there are things you don't know yet. Things about your mother. When the time comes, you'll understand." I'd thought she was just old and tired. Now I wondered what she'd seen. The safety deposit box was in a small credit union in Rochester. I had to provide 3 forms of ID and my grandmother's death certificate. The bank manager looked at me with something like pity. "Your grandmother left very specific instructions. You were the only person authorized to access this." She led me to a private room. Placed the metal box on the table. Then left me alone. Inside was a manila envelope. Thick. My name written across the front in my grandmother's handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. The first document was a letter. Dated 3 months before she died. "My dearest Cassie. If you're reading this, then you've finally discovered what I've known for years. Your mother has been taking from you. I saw the signs, the way she controlled your mail, your documents, your opportunities. I confronted her once. She denied everything. But a mother knows. I'm writing this because I want you to know, you were never the problem. You were never less than your sister. You were simply unfortunate enough to have a mother who saw children as investments with different returns. I've set something aside for you. Something she doesn't know about. Something that will give you the freedom she tried to steal. Don't let guilt stop you from claiming what's yours. Don't let family obligation trap you in their dysfunction. You deserve a life built on your own terms. Asterisk love always. Grandma Rose." I wiped my eyes and pulled out the next document. Trust documents. Legal papers establishing a trust fund in my name. Sole beneficiary. Sole executor. Established 18 years ago, when I was 5 years old. My grandmother had been funding it quietly for nearly 2 decades. Monthly deposits. Smart investments. Compound interest. Current value, $473,000. I stared at the number until it blurred. The next document was even more shocking. A clause added 5 years ago, right around the time my college applications went out. In the event that evidence emerges of financial exploitation, fraud, or theft perpetrated against the beneficiary by family members, this trust shall activate immediately with full disbursement rights granted to Cassie Marie Bennett. Furthermore, any family member found guilty of such exploitation shall be permanently barred from contesting this trust or claiming any inheritance from the estate of Rose Catherine Bennett. My grandmother had protected me. She'd known. Maybe not the details, but she'd known my mom was capable of this. And she'd built me a way out. There was one more document. A copy of my grandmother's will. She'd left her house, a 3-bedroom ranch in a nice neighborhood, to me. Not to my mom. Not split between me and Tori. To me alone. With a note attached, "Linda has taken enough. This is yours." The house was worth at least $300,000. My grandmother had left me over $700,000 in combined assets. I sat in that sterile bank room and sobbed. Not because of the money, though that was life-changing. But because someone had believed in me. Someone had seen what was happening and had quietly, methodically, built me a future my mom couldn't steal. I called Ruth from the parking lot. The trust is real, I said. Grandma left me everything. Does your mother know? No. And according to the trust documents, she's barred from contesting it if she's found guilty of fraud. Ruth was quiet for a moment. Cassie, this changes everything. Your grandmother essentially predicted this. She gave you leverage. What do you mean? Your mother is facing criminal charges. But if she contests the trust, tries to claim you're lying about the fraud, it'll just strengthen the prosecution's case against her. She's trapped. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. We need to talk. About Grandma's estate. There are things we need to discuss. I smiled. She had no idea. My mom called 3 times before I finally answered. Cassie. Her voice was tight. Controlled. We need to discuss your grandmother's estate. As the eldest daughter, I'm handling the probate. Actually, you're not. Silence. What? Grandma's will was very specific. I'm the executor. And the sole beneficiary of her primary assets. I heard her breathing change. That's not possible. Mother wouldn't. She did. The will is filed with the county. You can request a copy if you want to see it. This is ridiculous. You manipulated her. You must have. I was in New York. I saw Grandma twice in the last 5 years. You were there every week. If anyone had opportunity to manipulate her, it was you. The line went quiet except for her breathing. How much? She finally asked. Excuse me? How much did she leave you? Why would I tell you that? Because I'm your mother. Because we're family. Because despite everything, despite your vindictive little presentation and your police reports, I still deserve to know what my own mother left behind. I almost laughed. You really don't get it, do you? Get what? Grandma knew. She knew what you were doing to me. She left a letter explaining everything. She set up the trust specifically to protect me from you. My mom's voice went sharp. What trust? The one she established 18 years ago. The one worth nearly $500,000. The one you didn't know existed because she didn't trust you. I heard something crash in the background. A glass maybe. Or a plate. That money should be split between you and Tori. Read the will, Mom. Read the trust documents. Grandma was very clear. And there's a clause. A special clause about what happens if you're convicted of fraud. You're bluffing. Am I? The clause states that any family member found guilty of financial exploitation is permanently barred from contesting the trust or claiming any inheritance. Grandma wrote it 5 years ago. Right around the time my scholarship money disappeared. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, what do you want? What do I want? To make this go away. The charges. The investigation. What's your price? I sat down on my apartment floor. This cramped closet bedroom that I'd called home for years while she spent my money on Tori's perfect life. There is no price, I said quietly. You can't buy your way out of this. Cassie, please. If I'm convicted, I'll lose everything. The house. My reputation. I could go to prison. You stole from your own daughter for 4 years. You used my identity. You forged my signature. You redirected my scholarships. You destroyed my credit. You mocked me to relatives while stealing my future. And you did it all while telling me I'd never amount to anything. I was trying to help Tori. You were helping yourself. You wanted the perfect daughter. The one you could brag about. And when I didn't fit that image, you decided I was disposable. Worse than disposable, useful. A resource you could mine. That's not fair. You told me I'd never be as good as Tori. Remember? You laughed when my college rejections came. You said some people are born special and others do their best. She didn't respond. Well, here's the thing, Mom. Grandma thought I was special. She left me her house. Her trust. Her legacy. Not you. Not Tori. Me. The daughter you threw away. Cassie. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need you to tell me I'm good enough. Because someone who actually loved me already did. I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times. Sent 12 text messages alternating between begging and blaming. I blocked her number. Tori called next. You can't do this. Mom's falling apart. The family is destroyed. All because you couldn't let go of some financial misunderstandings. Misunderstandings? Tori, you knew. You signed documents. You spent the money. You're just as guilty. I was trying to build a life. On my stolen identity. How's California looking now? Still have that program acceptance? She hung up. I heard later, through my aunt, that Tori's program had been suspended pending investigation. Her condo financing was being reviewed. Her credit card companies were asking questions. The perfect life was crumbling. My mom's legal bills were mounting. She'd tried to hire an attorney but couldn't afford the retainer. She'd asked family members for loans. Most said no. The irony wasn't lost on me. 6 months later, the case went to trial. My mom took a plea deal. 3 years probation. Full financial restitution. Permanent record. Tori got 18 months probation and community service. Neither one apologized. I used the trust money to pay off the fraudulent debts in my name. Fixed my credit. Moved into a real apartment, 1 bedroom, natural light, no roommates. I finished my certifications. Got a job at a firm in Manhattan. Not glamorous, but mine. Built on my own effort. My own merit. My own name. Sometimes people ask if I regret it. If I wish I'd handled it quietly, kept it in the family. I think about my grandmother's letter. About the years I spent believing I wasn't good enough. About the life I could have had if someone hadn't stolen it piece by piece. Then I think about the trust. The house. The future my grandmother built because she saw what I couldn't see in myself. No. I don't regret it. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for validation from people who will never give it. They sacrifice themselves trying to earn love from family members who see them as tools, not people. I stopped waiting. I stopped sacrificing. And that's when everything changed. So let me ask you something. If someone in your life has been taking from you, your time, your money, your confidence, your future, what are you waiting for? What receipt do you need to see before you finally walk away? Drop your answer below. I want to hear your story.